As you play through the campaign of Armored Core 6, you may find yourself, a little bit like me, confused on all the different factions that are operating on Rubicon 3. In this video, I will do a deep dive on all the factions in the game, their ideology and their role in the game. What are their motivation for being on Rubicon 3 and why are the planet at war? This video will contain minor spoilers, but not big enough spoilers that it may ruin your playthrough. Trust me. Before we deal with the factions, we first have to understand the overall plot of the game. You are an unnamed mercenary controlling a mech. Your codename is Raven. As a mercenary, you have a mission handler who calls himself Walter. This is the guy who gets contacted by the different factions on Rubicon for us to do their dirty work. We land on Rubicon, get our working contract by stealing another dead mech's contract ID, and so it begins. Rubicon is at war. A war for resources. The resource mentioned is something called coral. What is coral, you might ask? A mysterious new substance called coral was discovered on the remote planet Rubicon 3. As an energy source, this substance was expected to dramatically advance humanity's technological and communications capabilities. Instead, it caused a catastrophe that engulfed the planet and the surrounding stars in flames and storms, forming a burning star system. Almost half a century later, coral has resurfaced on Rubicon 3, a planet now contaminated and sealed completely off by the catastrophe. Extraterrestrial corporations and resistant groups fights over control of the substance. The player infiltrates Rubicon as an independent mercenary and finds themselves in a struggle over the substance with the corporations and other factions. So, with the game's plot out of the way, let's talk about the factions. That's why we are here after all. Let's call them corporations instead, because that's what they really are. Let's divide them into two sections. Major corporations and minor corporations. In the major corporations, we will start with the All-Mind. You will first hear about the All-Mind in the very beginning of the game. The All-Mind is an AI that manages all mercenary activity on Rubicon. To avoid spoilers, we will leave it at that. The Arquebus Corporation is yet another major corporation in the game. It is a manufacturer of armored core parts. That's a sentence you're gonna hear me say a lot when I talk about the different corporations, because all the different corporations do really that. They make armored core parts. Among Arquebus's assets include an elite mercenary squadron codenamed Vespers and their subsidiary Schneider, which also manufactures AC parts and schematics. The Arquebus Corporation is a major faction on Rubicon 3. For Operation Wall Climber, one of the mid-missions in Chapter 1, the Vespers had planned for independent mercenaries like you to engage the numerous Rubicon Liberation front forces fortifying the wall. Only once the path was cleared by the mercenaries' sacrifice would the Vespers enter the fray, because the mission was after all a suicide mission they knew about. During the operation proper, however, the mercenary they hired, Handler Walter's Raven, instead tears through the wall's defenses and makes it to the top of the fortress, whereupon he and Vesper's squad leader, Rusty, defeat the wall's heavy mobile artillery platform. This surprising performance earns Raven the company's attention. One of two major corporations you'll spend your time working for in the game's first act. They task 621 with breaching the defenses of local resistant fighters. Most corporations featured in the game will make parts for your armored core. Each of them will have a distinct aesthetic and combat focus. This corporation, the Arquebus, builds laser and energy weapons that require coral for production. The Schneider Corporation, as I mentioned earlier, is a manufacturer of armored core parts. They specialize in aerodynamic research and have experience with light and highly agile builds. Aerial combat is their forte. A fun fact is that their parts use German bird names. Ballum Industries is again a manufacturer of armored core parts. Their motto is domination through material superiority. This is the second of the corporations that the player will work with during the early portion of the game. They employ their own private military known as the Red Guns. You work alongside two of these Red Guns in a story mission, and they are arrogant and confrontational. The Red Guns have a significant desire to control Coral. They sometimes align with Arquebus Corporation. Ballum is focused on material superiority and seeks full control of Rubicon's Coral output. Their pilots were briefly aligned with Arquebus Corporation as the two engage in skirmishes with a common enemy. Dafeng Core Industries is a manufacturer of armored core parts and is a mercenary liaison organization and weapons manufacturer. The Takegawa Harmonics. They specialize in manufacturing coral-based pulse technology, where their weapons would damage targets using high-frequency oscillating sound waves. They also manufacture pulse shields with strong initial guard. Then we have reached the minor corporations, and let's start with BOSS. Bellius Applied Weapon Systems. Again, is a manufacturer of armored core parts. BOSS will sell their products to anyone and everyone, and have been instrumental in arming the Rubicon Liberation Front. The PCA, Planetary Closure Administration. It regulates access to Rubicon 3 and has commandeered numerous autonomous sea weapons left behind by the Rubicon Research Institute after the fires of Ibis. Fires of Ibis might ring a bell for the hardest fans of AC, but we won't go further into that in this video. These Special Forces, shortened SP, are the elite combatants of the PCA. They're among the deadliest troops they deploy on the battlefields. They are sent by the system to execute and eliminate priority targets. Enforcement squads are strike forces made up of rank and file PCA troops and considered a more serious threat than the subject guard. While enforcement squads are usually deployed only for specific missions, they also serve as vanguards for the PCA's suppression fleet. The Outer Shell Security maintains an array of laser-armed geosynchronous satellites above Rubicon 3 that are used to prevent illegal entry to the planet and destroy intruders venturing onto the outer shell, the megastructures that towers above the planet's surface. In the beginning cutscene, you are shut down by this outer shell security system. RAD, or RAD, is a black market arms dealer organization. They have a reputation for viciousness and are known for assembling and selling their own heavily customized mechs made from the products of other manufacturers such as BOSS. RAD was once a run-of-the-mill dozer group based out of Grid 086 in Western Bellius on Rubicon 3. That began to change 3 years ago when Cinder Carla joined them. Only 1 year later, Carla seized complete control of RAD and quickly transformed it from a gang of coral addicts into a major black market arms dealer. RAD has a long-standing rivalry with another dozer group called the Junker Coyotes. The rest of the minor corporations are just weapon manufacturers without nothing really mentioned about them, so I'm just going to do a roll call of their names: Elcano and VCPL. Then lastly, we have the rebel groups of Rubicon. Getting tired yet? Hang in there, we are almost done. The first up among the rebel groups of Rubicon, we have the Coral Tweakers. The coral found on Rubicon is not only a precious resource used for development of advanced technology and weaponry, but a powerful and addictive narcotic. Certain inhabitants of the planet have become what characters refer to as tweakers because of their addiction to coral. They are controlled by a mix of drug overlords and warlords. And lastly, the Rubiconian Liberation Front. The Rubiconian Liberation Front is positioned as antagonists and the primary opposition in the game's opening chapter. They are an anti-corporate faction that venerates the planet Rubicon and the coral found there. They have their own armored core pilots that players will face off against throughout the game. The Armored Core franchise has a history of pitting players against sympathetic groups at the behest of murderous conglomerates. Whew! That was it for the entire lore of the factions on Rubicon. I hope you love the game as much as I do. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Until next time.